Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream on the channel. Today will be our Game Week 25 deadline stream. I'm just after finishing work. Welcome to the stream, lads. Do show your face in chat. Good evening to you all. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me quickly get a few things sorted in terms of audio. Hopefully the audio is okay and you can see and hear me, but welcome back to another stream, lads. Again, nice little green arrow for myself last game week as we hit the wildcard button. I'm actually just going to readjust my camera here so the light is behind me because it's a bit distracting. Hopefully that is a bit better. But what was I saying? Yeah, so just off the back of a nice little green arrow from a wildcard, it's exactly what we want. Again, do show your face in chat. I'm going to update it so you guys can see here. But I hope we're all well. I'm sure some of you guys are still in work. I myself just finished 8 to 4, but there is a bit to cover in the stream, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have dilemmas. We're going to start the stream by looking at my Game Week 24. We'll continue talking with chat, and then I'll start answering some of your questions after I go through my Game Week 25 team and some of my thought process going forward. Now, I already have made one early move. For anyone who's been watching the videos on the channel, you would notice as well. But I'm going to run through it anyway. Tell you my thought process going through the week so we're all caught up and we know where we are. But again, like I said, I hope we're all well, people. I'm looking forward to the stream, of course. And let's get straight into it. So let's get to my team for Game Week 24 again, just off the back of a wildcard. Again, Saka's injury. An unusual one because I got points off it, but I was still disappointed again. A lot of people might disagree with that, and I'm completely fine with it. Senesi with a clean sheet, and in my opinion, quite fortunate to get it. Sanchez and Chalobah look absolutely woeful, even though them players themselves weren't too bad, but DEFCON and a save point for Sanchez. Timber, Gabriel finally come up the goods, and Saka come up with an injury. Ndiaye won off DEFCON. Rodgers, a bit of a stinker, even though Villa clocked good XG. Enzo with a return, Krupi with a return, and Haaland, which a lot of people are starting to get fed up on. Overall, 70 points brought us from 570k up to 450k, which is a nice bump up in my opinion. I'm quickly going to fix this timer so no one is confused. Again, 2 hours until the deadline. This time around it is a 6:30 deadline, but very happy with the team. I can have zero complaints other than going with Rice or with Saka over Rice because it's after putting me a transfer behind, and that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But fortunately enough, I have quite a bit of depth, and the only reason I've made a move from Saka to Rice is because of double game week. Now, I have brought in Rice, like I just said. Let me quickly bring up my team, and for anyone who's just listening, I'm playing a 4-5-1 this game week with Sanchez on goal, Timber and Gabriel, Anderson and Chalobah, 5 in midfield with Declan Rice, which was my transfer for the game week. Bruno Fernandes, who does currently have the armband, unfortunately. Morgan Rodgers, Enzo Fernandez, and Ndiaye. And Erling Haaland with Liverpool away. On the bench, we have Dubravka, Krupi Jr. with Villa at home, and Senesi with Villa at home, and Mane with Chelsea at home. So the bench is actually looking quite nice. I mean, I feel like if I didn't have Sanchez, you could play Dubravka in a given week. You could also argue playing Krupi or Senesi this game week over Chalobah, in my opinion. Elsewhere in the team, I don't think it is debatable on where I would have my players starting. So let me quickly update the chat and pop out chat so you guys can see it on stream. But we'll get on to captaincy in just a second, again, which will be a big talking point. And a lot of you guys, I'm hoping, already own Bruno Fernandes at a minimum. Again, he will be by far the most popular this game week, and again for good reason. Again, you would know how much I love Bruno as an FPL asset. This game week he plays against my own team, of course, and I never make my own decisions based on that. I am always looking at opportunities. Again, it does play a role in it, don't get me wrong, but we'll get onto that in just a second, like I said. So just on the Declan Rice transfer. So going into the game week, again, I was going to wait always to see what happened in the cup. This is just letting you know how my thought process would have been, and same with a lot of you guys. I can imagine you would have done the exact same thing, but waited until this Chelsea fixture to see if Arsenal were to double in game week 26, and now we've got the result that they are. that is immediately after forcing me to bring in Declan Rice, because there's no way that I would be going into this game week with only 2 Arsenal assets. And I feel like because Declan Rice, regardless of what I want to do with him in the future, he's not going to stay in my team for any longer than past game week 27, I can't imagine. And that is frustrating because, again, I need my transfers. Because I've hit the early wildcard, they're a bit more important than they are to many other people, in my opinion. So it is quite frustrating to bring in a player that I know I'm going to get rid of. But again, there is some, very good upside in the double game week, and that's why I need to bring him in. It's just a shame that there are no other options. I mean, I have definitely considered the likes of Brian Mbeumo, for example, and not going for the double game week, or maybe doing it in a different week. I've also looked at the idea of going for a Trossard and Eze, a Madueke, and I just can't justify it, considering I expect Declan Rice to get close to 180 minutes between the 2 games with Brentford and Wolves, and in those 2 games to get good DEFCON numbers. If we just look at his drop-off in recent weeks, now, even with the drop-off, I still consider him, a very good asset. He's his DEFCON numbers are averaging, I would say, around 10, if I'm just taking a mean of what he's had in the last few. And again, this has been against quite decent opposition, and the 2 games in Game Week 26 are 2 away games. So I imagine those 2 fixtures are actually quite decent for a player like Declan Rice. Again, not that there is a strong correlation with away fixtures and poor opposition, but if we just look at his DEFCON numbers and when they've come, again, Liverpool away, he hit it. Newcastle away, he hit it. Burnley away, he hit it. Sunderland away, he's 1 off. Tottenham at home, okay, fair. Chelsea away, he hit it. Villa away, he hit it. Everton away, Bournemouth away, and 1 off in Forest away, and quite close in Leeds. So if we're just taking, through this season, I mean, he's been busier against the worser teams and picking up a lot more of the scraps in some of the easier fixtures, I think is fair to say. So, if you consider that, right, and let's just say in one of the 2 games he gets DEFCON, let's just say he gets 2 clean sheets, so that's 6 points. He hits DEFCON once, that's 8 points. And then, of course, I mean, he has open play threat with being on set pieces. So at a minimum, I feel like he's just hard to look past. And to be honest, if you don't have him, I probably would prioritize him over anyone else in the entire game. Again, it is a shame because a lot of people are going to have a triple Arsenal up one way or another, and it kind of makes it slightly boring. And that's why I kind of wanted Chelsea to win. If Chelsea had won, then there would be a conversation on whether or not we're getting Iliman Ndiaye or Tarkowski or Garner. But that's just my piece on Rice, and I do think he is a phenomenal option, something to look at. Hello everyone in chat, by the way. We got Liam, we got Gita, we got Faris and Peter. We'll be getting back to your questions in just a second, lads. Again, I just want to run through my team and some of my decisions that I have to come up. Again, sorry I am always talking about me. I do apologise, but I promise I will have time to answer your questions. Elsewhere in the team then, again, Gabriel and Timber. I feel like Timber is a ticking time bomb. I'm surprised he's not come up with a big haul in a while. Elsewhere in the team, I actually feel like the fixtures are absolutely phenomenal. Like, I look at Morgan Rogers with Bournemouth away. Bournemouth have been a team who've just conceded so many goals, even if in games that they're winning, like versus Tottenham. And Liverpool conceded 2 versus Chelsea, or versus Arsenal conceded 3 versus Chelsea 2, Brentford 4, United 4. I just feel like, Villa are a team who are generating significant chances, even though they mightn't be tucking them away. So if we just quickly look at Villa versus Brentford, I mean, Morgan Rogers alone clocks 0.54 XGI versus Brentford, which is, a high amount. And overall, I've been quite happy with Villa's attack, even without Watkins, and it looks like Watkins is expected to be back. So I think this could be a high-scoring game between Bournemouth and Villa. I feel like, Villa play with a high line. Bournemouth will definitely come on to him. That'll be no problem for a team like Bournemouth, especially at home. So a game with goals. And Chelsea, on the other hand, Wolves, who, have been much better in recent weeks. Actually, I think they could have and almost got a result versus Wolves, or versus Bournemouth, sorry. And, kind of got away with one as a Senesi owner, but, there's no way of me really fitting in both of the Bournemouth guys in Krupi and Senesi. Just on Krupi, I genuinely think he's a phenomenal option. What kind of throws me off of not starting him this game week is, you know, we're yet to see a solid 90 minutes. A player like Krupi, for me to consider playing him over the likes of a Shalaba, for example, who was just, you know, almost guaranteed DEFCON, or an Anderson, who was a good fixture and almost guaranteed DEFCON. You know, he either needs to be on some sort of set piece duty or be guaranteed at least 75 minutes, I think. So I don't think there's a way to fit him in my current team, especially when you consider there is some sort of pen share for Rodgers and Enzo, and NZI is on penalties. So that's a good sign, though. You know, I don't mind benching a player like Krupi. I don't think he's too highly owned, so he's not going to hurt me too much. Fahim says, I thought you were captain Rodgers' choice. So just on this, okay, let's talk about this. I was, and am still, this stream, it can change. I am on Rodgers' captaincy currently. Again, I just haven't changed it on my team here. And in my video, I would have spoke about it quite a lot. That brings us on nicely to looking at Rob T's projected points for the game week. So the markets are actually even higher on United now than they were at the start of the game week. 7.1 for Bruno Fernandes, which is absolutely ridiculous considering I'm a Spurs fan. And I don't know where the increases come from, whether it's you know, Spurs still lacking the depth in squad. Of course, United off the back of 3 massive wins and building a bit of momentum. Spurs haven't lost in their last 4, I don't think. Now, I know we've been very flat, and that first half for City was absolutely appalling, but from my point of view, as poor as Spurs are, I still feel like Spurs can nick a result. I keep saying it. You know, United haven't beaten Tottenham since 2022. And that doesn't mean anything. Let's be real. But I do feel like, again, just in the back of my mind, like when I look at teams who are bogey teams for, the other team I look at is City. City, another team who, you know, over the last few years, we were able to just get results out of. Now, the problem with United this season has been their inconsistency. They've consistently sat second in you know, on the tree of XG for the season. They've been consistent in attack. There's no doubt about that. Where they've been poor is defensively and with inconsistencies in results. To be honest, I think they were quite fortunate to get a result versus Fulham. I watched them play, and you know, there are very good things that I've seen United do under Carrick, and I'm continuing to see a lot of great things come out of United, and they're definitely improving. We're going to see a different game this time around. You know, it is a bigger game for United from the Fulham one. Now, I know obviously they're just off the back of playing Arsenal and City, but my point is, City and Arsenal would have came onto United. And I just don't know how this will play out versus Spurs. I mean, genuinely speaking, I can see any sort of result coming through this game. Now, let me know if you're a United fan in chat, how you can see the game going. I think the general consensus is anyone who's a United fan is quite confident on beating Tottenham. And as you should. I mean, you're off the back of 3 massive wins, new manager bounce, yada, yada, yada. For me, again, when I'm throwing my captaincy around, I try to look at it as a singular game and a singular game. Like, how do I actually see this game running? I think it'd be tight. You know, I don't see United smashing us, I'll be completely honest. And Spurs are always up for this fixture. Again, I had watched 3 games, 1 at Old Trafford, 2 at Tottenham in the last 3 or 4 seasons, I think. And again, each time we've gotten a result. And it's weird. It's just a weird fixture. Now, maybe we won't win it this time because I'm not there, but LVB says, United fan here, I think it'll be a draw. This is another good poll. Let's quickly pop it in chat. Now, just because I think it's a draw doesn't mean Bruno can do well. And that's the thing that's on my mind. Like, Bruno can do well even in a 1-1 draw because he's so good for the bonus. He's so good at getting some sort of contribution. He's on all of the set pieces, so on and so forth. But let's do a poll in chat. How do you see this United and Spurs game going? Let's go United win, draw, and let's go Spurs win. I'd be intrigued to see what you guys think. And if you are voting or you do hold a strong opinion on this fixture, let me know what you think. But again, I look at how Thomas Frank might set up And again, this is coming from my perspective, someone who is completely biased, I'll be completely honest, but I do have some sort of hope, considering, you know, how the feeling currently is. Now, it is absolutely brutal in terms of how the windows went, and there's a lot of talk about that. You know, Romero putting up Instagram posts about it. And sorry, I do apologise if this is non-FPL related, but it does tie into the fact on, you know, maybe my decision on why I might captain / not captain Bruno Fernandes. But I would love to see Thomas Frank play with a 4 at the back. I mean, he had to change things in that second half versus City. It was so poor in that first half. If Van de Ven is back, I'd love to see Vicario, Gray, Romero, Van de Ven, Edogi, Polini in the middle, somehow dropping in between the two lads at the back. Maybe Sarr / Gallagher, one of the two. Xavi in the 10, on the left Kolo Muani, on the right Odegaard, and up top Dominic Solanke. Now, that's the team I'd love to play. Go at this game with some sort of aspect of trying to win it at Old Trafford. Again, I feel like, you know, a lot of teams going and playing United this season have felt like that they could do it. And that's why you've seen some of the poor teams get results at versus United, because they've been inconsistent. And teams know that. Just from Maverick, he says, "No, I'm not confident, but let's see how we go let's see how we go. We got the job done against two of the best teams in the league, and then to play a team that play a lower block, we usually lose to them. This is a new test." Exactly. And I agree with that. What do you think about Captain Gabriel as a differential? I think Gabriel is also a good outside shout. Faris says, "I believe it'll be a high scoring game, but United always win high scoring games." That's another good point. Again, they do hold that record at Old Trafford, leading at half time, never losing. So, you know, there is something at Old Trafford, even in high scoring games for United. But yeah, just some of my thought process. Hello, Anton. Hello, everyone who's just coming in. White and green Shilbro. What was I going to say? But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And it's not enough for me to not put it on Bruno. Again, like I said, even if Spurs do get a result and I can feel some sort of result, Bruno is just so consistent with his points that I'd even take, you know, a 12-pointer, for example. And the main thing is, just looking at the list, there are no obvious captaincy shouts other than Bruno. I mean, you have Gabriel, you have Timber, you have Rice, but, you know, nobody is really confident putting it on them, especially when you look at, you know, how Sunderland have done this season. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Sunderland personally to score. White and Greens is adamant that I answer his question. He says, "Should I start Collins or Goodmanson?" I would play Collins because I don't think it was an issue last game. I think it was just one of those weeks where he needed to be managed his minutes. So I would play him. But Johnny says, "Sorry to bother you, Chai. Off worked at 5 to 11, so we'll miss the deadline. I'm in draft mode. Have Szoboszlai and tempted by Madueke." I would bring in Madueke personally if I was in draft. Hello, Mehmed. How are you? I still think Bruno's a great option regardless of result. Exactly. Could you use your team? Could you use your team when you're free? I don't know what you mean with that. I brought in Mbeumo for Saka. I do like Mbeumo for Saka. I mean, I can't lie. Again, he has that fixture in Gameweek 31. I just feel like if you don't have that triple up, you're going to want it by 26 anyway. And I did not want to lose out on any more price rises. Hello, Liam. Good to see you. Sorry. How am I feeling versus for the United versus Spurs game? I was actually just speaking about that. And, you know, just to note, also, the early kickoff. Again, we always speak about how Gandhi hates an early kickoff and he's always right. So, I don't know. And, you know, Bruno, as good as he is, he does have these weeks where he does blank. He's not done it in recent weeks, but I don't know. Again, the problem is there's no other second option. Like Ndiaye, who I have, Rodgers, and Enzo. None of them feature on this list, which is never a good sign. Anyway, going back to my team. There's my team, Zion. Verts, or let's start answering some of your questions and then we'll continue to chat generally. So, Matt is asking, Verts versus Mbeumo or Rice for you, Chai? Again, I went Rice. I could have went to a Florian Verts or Mbeumo. Those two definitely enticed me, but for me, it was easy because I know I want 3 Arsenal. I didn't want to lose value on Saka any longer, so I went with Rice. So boring, and I actually feel like he's just an expensive Elliot Anderson. But for now, it does the job until game week 26. That's a good question, Liam. Does it counter the fact that there's a Friday game? I was trying to think of that as well, and I'm not quite sure how that works. But either way, I know if United don't get a result, there will be this, this thing of, Spurs, early kickoff, whatever. You know what I mean? Hello, mate. Start Anderson or KDH? You got to be starting Anderson, in my opinion. Again, just looking at the probabilities this game week. And Joachim Anderson actually features 13th as one of the highest scoring players this game week, which is good to know. Rodgers doesn't get the captaincy anymore. Like I was saying, again, people are just joining. I actually just never changed it, and in my video I did change it, so there you go. I hope you're happy now that it is on Rodgers. Again, I'm going to be deciding on stream. I promise you I'm not doing it to bait you. Again, I'm still kind of 50-50 on whether I want to do it on Bruno or Rodgers. I still feel like there is something in this for Morgan Rodgers, considering how good his minutes are. But yeah, there you go. I hope you're happy now. People actually, like, for anyone who's unfamiliar here, you know that I'm not afraid to throw around the armband. When I say something, I really do believe it. But again, I genuinely am 50-50 on Bruno Rodgers. Aside from FPL, are you confident in Spurs? Confident isn't the right word. It's just one of those things where I feel like the general consensus is that people think United are going to smash Spurs. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think it will be a tight game. That doesn't mean Bruno's a bad captaincy option, though. Well, Choi, says Sean. He says, Jared Bowen, El Capitano. He's a DEFCON monster. Let's actually pull up Jared Bowen real quick. I believe he got an early sub in last game week, which is really unusual for a player like Jared Bowen. But he's been on fire. Fair play for anyone who's held him through the world of hurt. And his DEFCON numbers have been very good, hitting it twice in the last 5, which is, very impressive. Again, another thing in my opinion where in an away fixture, I'll always feel like and back him to be better for DEFCON. So I actually don't mind it. If you consider the fact he's on penalties, decent DEFCON and is capable of hitting it and one of the best fixtures in the league, well, absolutely, why not? Liam says he sold Rodgers this week. Who did you sell him for, Liam? I assume it was for Declan Rice. Michael says, my second time owning Iliman Ndiaye this season. I'm regretting it already. Everton attack is terrible. Only upside is he takes pens. Michael, I don't know if I agree with that. For what it's worth, when you have a player like Iliman Ndiaye, okay, he comes in at 6.2 million. What are our expectations for a player who's at 6.2 million? Now, let's quickly look at other options who are currently 6.5 million in and around. I mean, you're not really looking for... I mean, you have Harry Wilson. Again, he's knocking it out the park, and he has been for some time now.
UTC, goat emoji, good luck all, red heart emoji.
Thank you, FPL Sharp Ford. £2 super chases up the chai. Good luck all. Thank you for popping in, FPL Sharp. Much appreciated. Much love, man. I hope you're well. We also have Kieran in here. I'm going to get to Iliman Ndiaye and I'll answer your question, Kieran. But just on Iliman Ndiaye, other than Wilson, who's, absolutely smashed it, and Elliot Anderson, you have to account for the fact that Iliman Ndiaye just came back into this Everton team from the back of AFCON. Secondly, you've had, Kieran Dewsbury Hall come back from injury, and also Jack Grealish, and now Tino Barry and Beto, are slowly picking up some form. So I feel like it is, a case of time. He hit 11 DEFCON last game week, which was, close. I was counting myself through on the last 10 minutes. He didn't hit it. And picked up some decent numbers versus Leeds. So I feel like he's just one of those where we need to be patient and tempered expectations for, a 6.2 million asset. The reason I own him is because throughout these fixtures, I think they're actually quite good for Everton. He plays a fixture in game week 31, which is exactly what I'm looking for. And like you said, he is on penalties. So with those combined factors at 6.2 million, I mean, for me, I understand that he's gonna blank more so than not. And even if he's not great on the eye and not picking up the numbers you might necessarily want, I still feel like he's a decent hold for sure, and I don't mind him as an option. From Kieran, I really want to move Haaland out for Victor Gyökeres / Kai Havertz. Jeez, is this the point of tinkering we're doing, Kieran? He says for 2 weeks and go on to Thiago. If I'm being deadly honest, Kieran, I can actually understand that. And again, another thing that we'll do now is let's pull up a graphic for this game week. Victor Gyökeres is actually top of the tree for expected goals this game week, which when I saw this I was quite surprised, I'll be deadly honest. But again, Arsenal are a team who are on a good run. I expected them to batter Leeds last game week, and that they did. Gyökeres is a player who I think is still lacking a bit of confidence, but he's got a goal or two in recent weeks. Same with Kai Havertz, who's back from injury. The problem with it, again, Kieran, and same with yourself as an Arsenal fan, you'll know more than me, but the minutes, there's absolutely no surety with, Gyökeres, Jesus, and Havertz, who can all play that type of position. How guaranteed the minutes are, but if you're confident on one of the three getting a start, I'm absolutely no stranger of owning an Arsenal attacker, and you'll know me throughout seasons, even with Gabriel Jesus in that infamous run throughout seasons. It can be done for sure. Low mins players who just play for a decent attack in the league and an outside shout. So I don't mind it, Kieran, I'll be honest. Flat track bully versus poor teams. He's had 3 in 2 games. True. I don't necessarily class Sunderland as a poor defence, but again, at the Emirates, completely understand. Yeah, exactly, Kieran. So if you had Cole Palmer, would you captain versus Wolves? Now, this is a great question from Charlie, because there's actually a good few people in this sort of boat. I'll be deadly honest. If it were me, I would be captaining Cole Palmer, but I would not incentivize you to do it, because Bruno is just such a strong option in the game currently. Realistically, what you're doing is you're backing against a 90-minute player who's on all set pieces versus a Tottenham team with 13 fit players at Old Trafford, versus Cole Palmer, who's been in and out of the team. We've been told that he needs surgery at the end of the season. He plays against Wolves, but is still likely to be early subbed if he is tampering with an injury. Therefore, it is really risky. I mean, it is hard to look past a player like Bruno, and like Kieran says in chat, Wolves have increased in recent weeks. Again, if we just look at some of their numbers in terms of expected goals conceded, I don't know if this will show us it properly. Again, Mane maybe isn't the best player to look at when I'm looking at the expected goals conceded option, but absolutely, there has been an improvement through Wolves, and there's no doubt about that. But the thing is, a team like Chelsea, full of energy, a lot of quality players, and I still feel like they'll generate enough chances for Palmer to be considered a very good option in this game, providing he gets a minute. So my question to you is, can you see Cole Palmer getting 75 plus minutes? If you can, then I can definitely justify putting the armband on him. Elsewhere, if you don't, then I wouldn't bother. Choi, is cash to Aina worth it? Absolutely not. I don't think so, Koala. I would much prefer to hold on to cash, in my opinion. I still feel like this run of games for Villa are very good. I wouldn't leave that result versus Brentford throw me off. I actually still feel like, Villa were unfortunate not to win that game. And there was enough in that game for me to, still be hopeful in a player like Morgan Rogers. And again, what really incentivized me towards a player like Morgan Rogers is how much Emery loves him. Not only are Villa smashing it this season, but Rodgers is now the main man at Villa. There's no doubt about that. And I still, and I will talk about it until Villa win a penalty, but I still feel like that there's an outside chance that Rodgers gets to take a penalty. Again, it's a different situation now since Douglas Luiz was in this team for Villa, but Rodgers has a bit of stature now. Getting 90 minutes, Watkins in and out of the team. A lot of players who currently are playing in that midfield who we consider on penalties are also in and out of the team. So I feel like because there's just been such consistency in terms of Rodgers' minutes throughout the season, and he's now the big fish, I could see him having the confidence to just want it. And the players who are in and out of the team just give it up to him. Now, I could be wrong with that. Villa fans will also probably disagree with that. But again, I'm just interested to see how it plays out. And if there is some pen share for me, in my mind, for the likes of Morgan Rodgers, then I think that does increase his his appeal to me with the 90 minutes that he's on. And also set piece duty. Some sort of set piece duty. Hello, Chewy. I hope you're well, man. He says Estevao captain. Another player which he can never be confident in his minutes, but I do quite like Estevao. I'll be honest. I mean, since Liam Rowe Senior has come in, there's been a lot more Estevao playing. I don't know if that's a case of sorry, I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's him playing in the cup, but for me, it's a weird one because what really throws me off is, Enzo Maresca giving out about how he has to play young players. There was a bit of clash about that. And, Liam Senior is a bit less experienced, so he will give in to playing younger players if he's told to, in my opinion. So I don't know if he'll appeal to me enough. Like, I'd have to be sure on a start plus good minutes. Again, another player that's just quite risky, and you're going up against a Bruno Fernandes with 90, but I'm unsure. Is Bruno G likely to start? We've not got anything solid on Bruno G, Anton. I want to bench Haaland for him. Yeah, I don't think I'll be benching Haaland for him necessarily because I'd be confident in Haaland starting. But again, nothing concrete on Bruno. FPL Sharp, who is a Villa fan, says, if Watkins isn't on the pitch, I feel Rodgers will take it too. I agree with you, mate. You think so, Sharp? I thought you were quite against that the other week, Sharp. So I'd be interested to see if something has changed in your opinion and what has caused that to occur. But good to see, as a Villa fan, you are of the same thought process. Real Easy says, love the Rodgers gamble. Also feeling a differential on captain Wirtz or Palmer for the armband shy. Yeah, Wirtz is a player who was just quite on it, to be honest, and I was an early Wirtz adopter. Again, if you look at my some of my old picks going through the weeks, I mean, the idea was there. It's just they weren't showing up. I mean, I had Antoine Semenyo in... Oh, who did I have? Let me go back a slight bit more. Florian Wirtz was in my team for game week 17, 18. Game week 18 brought in Wirtz and captain him when practically no one owned him. Raul Jimenez also would have returned, and then unfortunately Wirtz left my team after 2 game weeks, which was probably a bit premature, but good to see that he's kicking off now, and if you own him, I think he's definitely a good hold. Start to Bravker or Kelleher, Liam is asking. See, I think West Ham are, a bit better than how they were at the start of the season. Saying that though, Brentford are a team on form also. I would probably say there's not much in that, to be honest, Liam. I don't think... I genuinely think that's a 50-50. And you could be wrong in both ways, but I would say Kelleher. Start one of Igor Jesus, Rodon and Krupi. I think I'd be starting Krupi. Again, Krupi is just a player who is phenomenal. Villa high line. And decent minutes. He's getting good starts. If I had Joe Pedro, who'd be my captain, interesting Sharp. JM says, FPL Sharp, I'm a Villa fan too. I think we would have seen Rodgers take a pen last year if he was on them. Will be Dougie, no doubt. You think so, JM? See, I would have default on Douglas Luiz as well, but again, he's just another player who's not had consistent minutes where he's been. And even in this Villa team, like, you're asking a player like Douglas Luiz to come in mid-season and take penalties. I don't know, like, how likely I see that. Like, especially with a player with Rodgers. He is, like, in my opinion, he's a big ego. Not that it's a bad thing, but again, you look at him talking about where he's going to be even at the start of this season. You know, he's talking about bigger moves than Villa. No disrespect to Villa, of course, but you know, that just says a lot about his character. Legendary risky, but what do you think of Wan-Bissaka, Hill, or Justin? So I can get Rice next game week. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka's, there's definitely been an uptick in Wan-Bissaka's, you know, his attacking threat. I mean, I don't know if it's something he's been necessarily working on personally, but he looks much better and more confident, more comfortable and confident on the ball. I mean, my preference would be still to go with a Hill. You know, after this game week, Bournemouth still have great fixtures, and for me, I would use him as an enabler. Is João Pedro a good captaincy option? Again, João Pedro is just a player who's on phenomenal form. Again, he is probably likely on penalties, I want to say. Not penalties, sorry. He's going to get more than 75 minutes if he does start this game, in my opinion. So I still feel like he's definitely a great option. And again, you would see how Liam Rossini is using him. In that game, he didn't start Pedro. As soon as he brought him on, he absolutely changed the game. And I don't see why you bench a player like Pedro, who, you know, is definitely a player who relies on rhythm. So I can see him getting some decent minutes versus Wolves. Would I captain him though? Probably not over Bruno, if I'm being honest. Where are we? Yusuf says Verbergen, Dubravka, Gabriel, Timber, Anderson, Richards, Hill, Bruno, Mbuemo, Enzo, Royce, Lafille, Haaland, Ekitike, Thiago. Did Soboslai, O'Reilly to Hill and Mbuemo this week plan to dead end in 31? Very nice team, Yusuf. I actually quite like that. And to be honest, I'm jealous of you guys who have a team like that and have already not used a wildcard. Really, what I'm relying on is Chelsea to do it for me. And some of my options like Iliman and Ndiaye and the Bournemouth guys when I need to call upon them to do well. I just think Rodgers will relish the extra responsibility. I think so, Sharp, as well. Again, it is an opinion, and we won't know until they get a penalty. And who knows, they mightn't get a penalty for the end until the end of the season. But I'm happy to gamble. Start one of Tarkowski, Hill, and Goodmanson. Chewy is asking. For me, I would be starting Tarkowski without a doubt. Again, just guaranteed DEFCON almost. And I don't think I'd be expecting too much from Hill or Goodmanson Chewy. So therefore, the expected bullet header is probably higher on Tarkowski. Evening Davis, how are you, my friend? And Anto as well. Good to see Chris as well. Rio says, I'm off, Shy. I appreciate the advice. Good luck this game week. Best of luck, Rio. I'm sure you guys have lives and probably don't want to be listening to me after work, so completely respect it. King says Shirky over Krupi / Senesi. I would probably play Krupi over Shirky in my opinion. Happy weekend, everybody, says FPL Tough. Bench Watkins, Ndiaye or Thiago. Or do I just sell Watkins for Ekitike? You know what? I don't mind selling Watkins to Ekitike. I actually think Ekitike long term is great. But is it necessary this game week? I'm unsure. In my opinion, I probably would play the two penalty takers in Ndiaye and Thiago and just bench Watkins, Chris. Anton is saying, I'm taking a risk even though I have Gabriel, Bruno and Rodgers. I can't see the lap playing ahead of him again. And that's fair enough. I can completely understand that. Saka to Trossard instead of Rice. See, that's the thing, Alia. We were just talking about that, about why I went to Declan Rice. Again, just looking at Rice, and for anyone who's just joined us, again, this is an important thing to look at, and I don't know if too many are considering this, but I think every game bar one game this season, Declan Rice has hit DEFCON only. How many times has he hit DEFCON? He's hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's hit it 8 times. 7 of them have been in away fixtures. The 2 fixtures in the away double in 26 are away versus Brentford and Wolves. So that's almost guaranteed 10-pointer just for having a double game week.
Bench 1, the Tarkowski, Anderson, Raul, thanks.
Thank you, Lee, for the super chat. Much appreciated you for supporting the channel. Lee says, bench one out of Malik Chow, Tarkovsky, Anderson, and Raul. So, first off, how would I break this down? For me, I'm looking at Malik Chow and Tarkovsky. I'm going, for me, Tarkovsky, much better DEFCON, better fixture. Anderson, phenomenal at DEFCON, picking up the points in recent weeks, and Raul, who's on penalties. So, I actually think I would be benching Malik Chow. Again, I could be completely wrong about that. It's a home fixture versus Brentford, of course, but Tarkovsky, Anderson, it's almost guaranteed DEFCON. And Raul, who has a decent fixture this game week and on penalties. And to be honest, has been on somewhat decent form in my opinion. He's one I've owned throughout the season. I think that's how I would play it. Again, if you are looking at that home fixture for Newcastle and you do back them, go for it. But Newcastle have just been so inconsistent for me that I would prefer to bench Malik Chow. Who knows though? That could be a random week where he picks up another brace or something. Umwara says, hello FPL Choi, the differential GOAT. It says, my team is as follows. 2.8 million, 2 free transfers, thoughts on stacking cash to Madueke and Maguire. Umwara, I don't mind the moves personally. My preference would still be Declan Rice for the reasons that I just suggested. Madueke is not a bad differential at all. But I don't fancy getting rid of cash. And I actually think Stack as a player was ticking away nicely. I don't look at those moves as necessary this game. I mean, particularly Maguire. I see Spurs score. And again, that's my bias poking through. But not the worst moves. But I don't think they're necessary this game week. And I actually wouldn't mind moving next game week. Refkul in chat. Hello, Refkul. He says, you think going Gabby captain this game week is rogue? Absolutely not. I'm no stranger to captaining defenders, in FPL. I mean, particularly now with DEFCON, it does increase their appeal for sure. But with Gabriel, I mean, I think this is one of the highest we've seen for clean sheet probability. Again, just looking at Arsenal, 56% versus Sunderland. That is disgusting. And Gabriel is a player who's nailed for not only getting minutes, but he's been so good for DEFCON, which is making him essential. Like, DEFCON versus Leeds, again, in away fixtures, I think he's more likely to get it. This one is Sunderland at home, but Sunderland do fancy a long ball, and they will try counter attack versus Arsenal, of course. So I don't mind it. Do I absolutely love it and prefer it over Bruno? I can't say I do, but I can understand it and get behind it. Start Minoz or Evan Nilsson? Personally, I think I would be starting Minoz. Again, he's a player that's very hard to bench. Toff says, I'm considering banking Watkins for Anderson. Have I lost the plot, or is this how FPL is now? No. I love Anderson, to be honest. Like, I was an early adopter on Anderson. And it's a shame. A lot of the players who have kicked off have earned or owned earlier in the season. Anderson, Gordon, he scored last week. Even had reverts for a few weeks. It's a shame, but I can understand Anderson, to be honest. He's just a player, again, if you hold him long enough, he'll do well. Chai, what do you think about Calafiori for the next 2 game weeks? Went to sell early, but cannot afford Timber Saliba without taking a -4. I don't think I'd do it, JM. I don't know how confident I would be for him to get, even 2 of the next 3. I can understand that why you take a punt, but it's just a bit risky, and it's just not what I'd be looking for going into a double game week. Going with Timber and Gabriel is just the safest out of the 3 options. Rice, you could almost be sure he starts both of those games. Same with Gabriel. Timber, I think there is a slight chance that he misses out on one, but Calafiori, even a higher chance. Starry says, do you reckon Timber not starting and coming in for a 1-point cameo is likely? I mean, I wouldn't say it is likely. What I will say is that there's definitely a chance of it. I mean, if we look at Arsenal and the fixtures that they played, so if we pull up Kairat, so he didn't start the game in Kairat versus Kairat. He started the game versus Leeds. and played 90. And then in the week, he also started the game and played 90. So I think if it were to come, it would come in the Sunderland fixture. I don't see him missing any of the games in the double because there is a fixture in between, and that is a 3-day turnaround, but it's against Wigan, so I can't see him being rested personally. So, I mean, if it were to happen, it's going to happen in the Sunderland game. He is no stranger to being, missing out on the odd game. Again, didn't start the game versus Brentford or got early subbed. Didn't start the Leeds game, again, back from injury, so it's a bit of a different story. But also missed the Brighton one when there was a bit of congestion. So definitely is a chance. Again, like I said, if it were to come, it would be versus Sunderland. But again, Arsenal on such good form and rhythm that I don't see why Arteta would shake it up. To be honest, I just see him, if he is going to take minutes off of Timber, I think it could be an early sub in around the 70th minute. Where are we? Rice might be a better pick because I'm definitely going to captain him in the double game week, and Madueke might rotate because Gunners will play Wigan. Exactly, like I just said. Hello, this games. He said, United. Not this game week. We're absolutely coys this game week. Simi says Mbeumo 5 goals in 8 games versus Spurs. Is he captaincy material? What I would say about that is definitely a decent option. Again, just when I look at captaincy, I'm really trying to break it down because, again, captaincy is the singular most important in any game week. Me and you can have the exact same team but change the captain and I could easily leap 20 points above you. And I think people forget that. I mean, captaincy is the singular most important thing because you're getting 2 times your best player. And even if they are differential, I mean, that's 2 times a player that someone might own. So, just on that. So, Brian Mbeumo, 5 goals in 8 games versus Spurs. Let me quickly pull him up on StatNews. And we can take a look at Brian Mbeumo versus Spurs. Mbeumo versus Tottenham. I distinctly remember him ripping us up. I think it might have been 2 seasons ago. If there is anyone that knows how to stop Brian Mbeumo, it would be Thomas Frank. And again, that doesn't necessarily translate to him being able to do that, especially with how poor Spurs have been. But I mean, surely if anyone were to lock down Brian Mbeumo, Thomas Frank would have the know-how and how to set up this Tottenham team versus a Brian Mbeumo and a Bruno Fernandes. Don't get me wrong, United are almost unstoppable at this point. I mean, in terms of attack, they're generating so many chances, and given the volume of chances that they're creating, you would expect Mbeumo to get some sort of chances. But I don't know, these are the things that I consider, and that's why I prefer to captain Bruno, because Bruno is way more, unpredictable in comparison to, Brian Mbeumo. Brian Mbeumo could easily see, a 5-game spell of blanking. In comparison to Bruno Fernandes, because all of his different routes, whether it's corners, free kicks, penalties, DEFCON, playing in the 10, you don't know what positions of the pitch he's going to come up in. He can be in any part of the final third of the pitch. A lot more unpredictable for managers to see where he's going to come up with his positions on the pitch. I mean, even in that game versus Fulham, it came up on the right wing, and you would never ever expect a player like Bruno to leave that ball fall through his legs and run like a winger, like you'd see Brian Mbeumo do. And again, he's just so unpredictable. That's what makes him the best midfielder in the world. Brian Mbeumo is a bit more direct. He is arguably the best transitional player in the league, in my opinion. Spurs are not going to leave him that space, I don't think. And again, these are if, buts, and maybes. He could be the one, that gets the tap in the 6-yard box across the box, and it mightn't be him running onto the transition. But again, I look at what's possible. Spurs, when we talk about transition, Mickey van de Ven, who is back. Again, I'm waffling now because these are all if, buts, and maybes. But again, these are the things that be going on in my mind when I consider a player like Brian Mbeumo versus Tottenham. I don't think it's going to be a case where, easy game versus Tottenham and you're going to absolutely smash us. If anything, I can see us conceding from a Harry Maguire header rather than Bruno Fernandes or Brian Mbeumo doing what we expect him to do. Again, that's just my opinion. And usually how the ball rolls versus Tottenham, individual mistake or Vicario dropping the ball down to Maguire's feet, like some sort of crap like that, like we're used to. But let's see how it plays out. I mean, these are what separate, I would say people who are more analytically based or grass based. I mean, you could easily look at this game and go Brian and Mbeumo easy, Tottenham easy, and then land the hat trick. Like, I mean, sometimes it really do be that easy, but again, when I pick up my captaincy, I'm not necessarily looking like that. How should I start 2 of the 4? Semenyo, Senesi, Cash, Kieran, Dewsbury, Hall. I would definitely start Semenyo. Again, linked to Liverpool. I feel like he's going to play 90 minutes in this game.
Hi Chai, VVD or Esteve and Anderson Forrest or Thiago/Shavanilson. I feel Anderson will sure short give 4.0, so should I take -4 for Thiago to Pedro?
Thank you, Aryan, for the super chat. He sends us 449. Again, I believe Aryan is Swedish, if I can remember. Aryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, he says, hi Chai, Virgil van Dijk or Esteve, and Anderson for Forest or Thiago/Evan Nilsson. I feel Anderson will for sure give me 4 points. So should I take a -4 for Thiago to Pedro? So Aryan, this is a tough question, and there are a few different things that feed into this. If I'm trying to give you a concrete answer. First off, how are you set up for Game Week 31? Are you happy to dead end into it? Chelsea have a fixture in Game Week 31. Are you happy to hold on to them past Game Week 27 when the fixtures get a bit rougher? That's the first question. Secondly, I don't think I have any issue with playing Thiago or Evan Nilsson this game week. I mean, I look at how this game is going to go. Bournemouth always seem to be quite decent at home in terms of a goal scoring prospect. Evan Nilsson looks quite good at it as well. Potentially penalties there. Thiago also on penalties. Newcastle, who have looked shocking this season. So to answer your question, Virgil van Dijk or Esteve. So I have to choose one of those two. So I would play Virgil, in my opinion. Again, if there's always a prospect of Virgil getting some sort of goal contribution. We know he's good aerially. Whereas in comparison to Esteve, I feel like West Ham will score versus Burnley. And sure, Esteve can hit DEFCON, but unsure how I'd be feeling about it. So Thiago and Evan Nilsson, I don't think I'd be taking a hit to bring in Pedro personally unless you were to captain him. And I don't think you'd be doing that. It looks like my YouTube has crashed. I hope we're back. Let me quickly pop out chat and make sure everything is okay. By the way, do let me know if you can still see and hear me. I don't know why it done that. I hope we're still okay, guys. But yeah, thank you, Aryan, for the super chat. And I hope that answers your question. Dubravka versus West Ham or Keller versus tired Newcastle. So I've answered that already, Davis, and the conclusion I came to was to play Kelleher. Again, I agree with what you said. Tired Newcastle, and also I feel like West Ham score. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Start Krupi, Mukiele or Mane this week got stuck with an injury. I would play Krupi for sure, Connor. For sure. Sorry, I need to respond. Two seconds, guys. Thoughts on Palmer captain, stuck between him and Rodgers. So if I had the two lads, I would be captaining Palmer again, just because he's on penalties, and if you do expect him to get 75 plus minutes, like, he should be golden. And again, Wolves is still a great fixture, and Palmer's a player who thrives in a fixture like that, so I don't mind it at all. Start Wilson or Szoboszlai? I would be playing the on-form Wilson rather than playing right-back Szoboszlai. Am I going with Rodgers captain? Currently I am. Again, I'm not absolutely set on it, I'll be honest. Bruno is just so hard to look past. It's less about Rodgers and more about Bruno. It's tough. Start Tarkowski or Malik Chow? I'll be playing Tarkowski. Again, just DEFCON. Ever thought about doing a watch along? I have considered doing a watch along, lads, but I just don't know if I'm that interested to watch along with. You know, I'm not going to be throwing... I'm not one who's watching a football game that will throw their arms around the place going, OMG, look at that crazy goal. You know, like, I'm a bit more mellow. And when I'm watching Tottenham, I mean, in particular, I don't like watching games with people. I actually prefer to watch the game on my own. And that's because I hate, you know, the bickering of, oh, Spurs are shite. Like, you know, that's just me though. Maybe, like, if there was an appeal for it, I'd be all for it. And maybe you might find it interesting. Maybe get some of my insight. But I don't think people are here for, you know, necessarily my football opinions. They're here for my FPL opinions, and not that my FPL opinions are golden, but you know, I do spend the extra time rather than your average Joe, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I guess I could do a watch along. Would still be entertaining, says Simi. Maybe one day we might consider it. And again, like, it's just one of those things though. If I do it once, I probably have to continually do it. You know, I can't just do one watch along and call it a day. But yeah, maybe. Let's see. Start one of Brian, Brobby, Mane, Mukiele and Gehi. I would probably play Gehi, Ferris. Again, I don't know how you're in that predicament to start one of Brobby, Mane, Mukiele and Gehi. But I would probably start Gehi. Thank you, Keane, for subscribing. Hello, Anish. Good to see you in chat, my boy. Good evening, Choi, says Jono. He says, bench one of Sharky, DCL, Thiago. Cheers, big ears. I would be playing DCL. I feel like DCL is, you know, is due a goal. It's been a while since I heard DCL's name. But also, I like that fixture for Leeds, of course. Forest at home. So I'll be playing DCL. You don't have to do it every week. Watch-alongs are hard to compete when there's every big fan channel who does it. That's true, Peter. But what I would say is, there's not many FPL YouTubers who do watch-alongs. The only one I know of who does it is Ryan. And Ryan is gas. Like, Ryan is that very enthusiastic, appeals to a younger crowd. So I don't know if there is a market for me to do it. You know, not that it matters how many people are watching, but I would have to also really want to do it. And that way I can be more enthusiastic about it. Doing the deadline streams and then doing a watch along on top of it. That's a lot of watch along hours. Start Kroopy or Dewsbury Hall? I would be playing Kroopy. Again, a man in form. When he gets starts, the fella seems to always find a way to score. So definitely Kroopy in my eyes. And he is just, you know, he's a striker that I can see Spurs be linked with for 60 million and then just never get. And then he go on for a bigger move and just absolutely smash it. That's the type of player he is, and I can see it happening. Davis says captain on Rodgers is so rogue. It absolutely is rogue, but that's exactly what we embody. Again, a lot of people seem to think I do it because you know, I'm trying to be different, but again, that's not the case. I always try to take the games in a singular game week. Bruno can score for 20 game weeks in a row, and I'll still look at, okay, what is his opposition this game week, and what else do I have in my team to consider. So it is rogue. I'm not saying that he's a better option than Rodgers, but I think it is a good opportunity, and I just feel like I can somehow back Tottenham in this away fixture at Old Trafford. Again, risky, but I'll be for it. Ryan still racks up 400 views sometimes. Exactly, Simi. There is, you know, definitely an audience for it. But, you know, if I had 500, 600, whatever 100 it is if I want to do it, and would people enjoy it? You know, some people might tune in because, you know, they can't catch the game themselves, so they're going to throw us on like, I guess, like the radio. But, you know, it is something to consider for me. And I have thought about it. I mean, there is definitely a market for it. I just feel like you guys would get bored of me, to be honest. Like, the good thing about my content is, you know, you don't see too much of me. I don't exactly spoil you guys with as much content as you probably should and deserve, but you know, I am one of those who pop in and out when they can. I guess I take a minimalistic approach because, again, for my lifestyle and for doing it kind of less than part time is what I can do. But again, it is cool though that you guys are asking for it, and I do appreciate it that you guys actually do want more content. I mean, it is pretty cool. I'm gonna go from Saka. Hello, FPL Chicken, by the way. He says bench one of Evan Nilsson and Zion Thiago. Again, for me, that is a bit closer than I would anticipate. I would go in Di and Evan Nilsson. Thiago is a hard bench, I'll be honest, because again, he's one who can do it versus anyone. But I would go Evan Nilsson and then Di, only because I feel like, you know, Evan Nilsson could feed off that high line Villa might play, and also quite good at home. Slight chance of penalties. Thiago penalties, but tough always at St James's Park. Thank you, Bowler says he would also watch along. Would you bench Trossard or Wilson? I would definitely bench Wilson in that case. Hard bench, don't get me wrong, but I think I would still bench Wilson. Hey mate, thoughts on triple Arsenal defence? I already have Raya and Gabriel. So I'm going to answer this question, then we're going to get on to a bit of planning by myself, and I want to see what you guys think of it. First off, to answer your questions, I actually think that it is quite nice. The triple up for me would probably be Raya, Gabriel, and Timber. But for me, I just feel like Rice is still a great option. I mean, looking at Rice again, I just feel like because of double game week, he's exactly what you'd be wanting in a double game week with those fixtures. Let me quickly pull up FPL team so we can go through my plan. And then just lastly, before I continue, I like to watch your content because there's more of football talk and differing views, and not just talk about every template pick. I mean, that's great to hear, Peter, and who everyone can pick. You see it in every FPL content creators teams. Yeah, that is true. And I hear that a lot. Like, a lot of people like my differing opinions, and some people pretty much tell me to stay quiet for being different, and I'm just doing it to be different. But that's just never the case. Like, I genuinely stand on some of my harder opinions. But what am I going to do? So first off, I want to ask you guys, who do you think in the next 5 game weeks, let's look at the fixture ticker, is going to be the best differential out of avoiding the Arsenal options? So, out of all the teams here, in the next 5 game weeks, who do you see being the highest scoring differentials? When I say differential, maybe it's a NDI, or maybe it's a even a Newcastle, like Harvey Barnes. I think with Gordon's injury, we could see an uptick in his minutes. You know, who would you consider that type of option? Davis says Toast and Nekatike captain. You know, I know City are poor, but in a game like this, these are often low scoring games. I mean, you usually see it between Arsenal and Liverpool, Arsenal and City and Liverpool. They're just always cagey games, and whatever form is going into these is usually taken off the mark, in my opinion. For me, in these fixtures, I'm going to say Harvey Barnes is going to be my differential over the next 5, who I think could do very well. Ammon says Sar. Yusuf says Verts. All great options. Tiny Fungus says thoughts on João Pedro captain. Luigi says Sar. Just on João Pedro captain, Tiny Fungus, I do think there is a good chance that Pedro will play this game and start it. But again, Wolves have looked somewhat structurally sound, so therefore I don't love it. Again, he is a player on form, so you know, I can't really say much about it, but I still feel like he's definitely a good option. He's not better than Bruno as a captaincy option this game week, though. Harvey Barnes, Ayari or Somerville? Yeah, Somerville is one that's loved by Alex Volo. For anyone who follows him, Krupi will be the best in same fixtures or Verts. Yeah, Krupi is just a player on form also. I think Tammy Abraham could be an interesting choice at chicken. I think it's possible if he gets the minutes, but I don't think the minutes will be there for him to be a good enough option over the next 5. Kev says Verts, love that. Haaland captain in Gameweek 26, maybe. Rayan at Bournemouth to light things up. I would love that. I also think, and again, I am putting my Spurs bias there, but Dom Solanke, considering he's going to be on penalties for Spurs over the next 5, I could see him doing quite well. Okay, let's look at my short-term plan for the next 6 game weeks up until blank game week 31, so you can see where I'm at. So now you'll start to see how my wildcard 24 is falling into place, and it might make a bit more sense. Again, shame about Bukayo Saka being injured, and of course I have brought in Declan Rice. Just to note, my team value is 2.7, not 2.6, because I've not got I have made the move already, so of course I have 0.1 extra. But team looks very good this game week. I mean, I'm happy with that. There is a question on whether or not I play Krupi, but other than that, like I'm very happy. And then we move on to game week 26, which is the week that is, very, very well set for me. Now, looking at my team, if you're asking me right now, I think that I'm leaning towards Royce captain and rolling my transfers. Again, looking at that team, I mean, I could play anyone this game week. I mean, I'm obviously going to bench Anderson. My preference is to play Mane, who has a double game week, have 4 double game weekers, and bench Krupi and Senesi. Now, that is very bold doing that. Alternatively, I could play Senesi over Shalaba. But other than that, I'm very, very happy with that team, ladies and gents. 2.6 is a nice Clash Royale reference. Brilliant, Tiny Fungus. But again, looking at that team, that is an A+ team for me, considering I am rolling the transfer and saving 2.6 million in the bank. Hopefully there is nothing I need to react to going into this game week. But very nice team. Then we move on to game week 27. Again, this is where I would like to move on a Declan Rice perhaps. And this is where I'll be playing a Krupi / Senesi for sure. Now, for me, why I want to get rid of Rice, for 7.5 million, given the fixtures that he has, I don't know if he's worth the value, and there probably is better value elsewhere. Whether that's, Elliot Anderson, for example.
Keep going, mate. Your content and perspective on this game is elite. Sending some love, brother. Fist emoji.
Much love from a channel member, Refical XCR7. Absolutely brilliant name, might add. Thank you for the 2000 Indian rupees. That's almost a €20 super chat. Refical, what the hell, man? That's the biggest super chat I think I've ever gotten. Jeez. Thank you, Refical, for the super chat. I hadn't realized because I didn't know the currency, but much love. Again, someone who's in here week in, week out, and is continuously supporting the channel. Really appreciate it here, Refical. And he says, keep going, mate. Your content and perspective on this game is elite. Sending some love. That is a hell of a lot of love, Refical, and thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Again, I can't believe that you guys, want to be supporting me week in, week out. I see the same names every single week, and it is great to see because it is really, really motivating for me to continually make the content. Again, none of this would be possible without you guys, because this is built up like on top of you guys. So thank you so much again, Refical. I don't know what to say. Let's try go back to my team for game week 27 then. Again, I feel like my team is great for game week 27. My captain this game week will be Erling Haaland with Newcastle at home. This is where I'll start to need to looking forward to blank game week 31. And for me, what I plan on doing is potentially benching a Jurriën Timber also. Again, Tottenham at home I feel like has the capability of getting a goal. I'm leaving my Spurs bias creep through, but that is fine with me. Do you think Hughes beat United? No bias. I think it'll be a draw, Adam. I feel like Spurs can get a result. Anto also in here. He says, good luck all. Come on, you Spurs. That's what I love to see, Anto. Another one who's in here every single week. But yeah, the team looks great for game week 27. It's not a week in which I need to make a move. I think my preference would be to make a move though, because there's no point in me benching Jurriën Timber or Declan Rice. And this is where I'm going to bring in then sanity. So, in game week 27, we start to see a fixture change. Thank you for subscribing, Mars. If we look at the fixture change real quick, in Game Week 27, it starts to come for Liverpool, who plays against Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton, Fulham. Just to note, a team that is projected to not blank in Game Week 31 and also have a double in Game Week 33. Now, this is important. Why this is important for me is because when I'm considering options going forward, I'm going to be looking for that fixture in Game Week 33. Now, there are very few teams who double and play a fixture in 31. Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Liverpool, and that's about it, really. And Newcastle. So if you're telling me that I do not want to play Timber versus Tottenham and Rice versus Tottenham, and then they go to play Chelsea and Brighton, who I deem teams that they can concede against, and then no fixture in Game Week 31, I don't mind holding on to only one Arsenal defender and potentially doing something a bit wild. So like we said, Erling Haaland blanks in Game Week 31. And I think there is a case of going out of him and bringing in arguably the best striker in the league, Ekitike, who's on form, versus Nottingham Forest. Like I said, plays a fixture in Game Week 31 and currently projected to get a double in 33. That would leave me with 8.1 million in the bank. And to do something even wilder, Declan Rice all the way up to Mo Salah. I sound like an absolute madman. But who knows? I think if Salah gets a goal in the City game and Liverpool win, we could be having a different conversation. But anyway, let me insert the wildness into some future planning and bring in Mo Salah to play in my 4-5-1 in Game Week 27. So what that does is gives me 2 more fixtures in Game Week 31 and 2 more fixtures in Game Week 33. Thank you, Ryan, for subscribing also. And it leaves me with Mo Salah in the team. Now, what this does is it gives me 4 penalty takers in midfield, 5 players who are going to get 90 minutes most weeks, given that there's no the Champions League causing congestion, and double game weeks for Chelsea and Liverpool assets. So if I were in theory to do that, it sounds a bit crazy right now. I'm just trying to weigh up what is possible going forward. Ahmed says Mo Salah in big 2026. But yeah, Mo Salah currently, personally, is no different to Erling Haaland. I mean, Erling Haaland looks to be quite washed as things stand, and Marmoush is coming up with more minutes and goals. So I don't know. It's just food for thought, more so than me actually looking at to do it concretely. But again, the idea is great, and again, why the idea looks good, we'll see in just a second. But that leaves me with Game Week 28, West Ham at home, and Mo Salah as the captain. It means benching Enzo Fernandez with Arsenal and benching Chalobah with Arsenal and playing Dubravka with Brentford at home. Again, that's such a solid team going into Game Week 28. And 2 free transfers, Game Week 29 then. Ideally, the preference would be to roll. It never ends up like that, but let's just say in theory that I play Enzo Fernandez ahead of Krupi and we go into the game week with a 4-5-1. Again, that looks like a great team, and we go into Game Week 30, the last game week before Game Week 31, with 4 free transfers and a team that also looks phenomenal on paper. Again, I would preference of playing Krupi with Burnley away. Trevor Chalobah probably would stay on the bench or play ahead of Anderson. And then that leads us into Game Week 31, which is the blank game week. Now, looking at this team, I have enough players, if I do the Mo Salah and Ekitike moves, with 5 free transfers and no moves to make. For a team who has hit the early wildcard, it's not bad at all. And not only do I have a team for Game Week 31, but the fixtures actually land very nicely. Now, let's consider a lot of people will be dead-ending in 31, so they're going to have a better team than me realistically. They mightn't have Mo Salah with Brighton, which is a good game. And in Game Week 32, which will be the week in which they wildcard, They will not have Chelsea assets, let's just say. But that's fine by me, to be honest, because I feel like Chelsea assets are not the worst hold. On paper, it's probably not the greatest, but just looking at the team for Game Week 32, what people have different is no Joachim Anderson because the fixtures are absolutely terrible. No Sanchez, no Enzo, no Shalaba. Unlikely to go to Iliman Ndiaye, I think is fair to say. And then they'll have Bruno and no Salah, likely. So then we go, let's just say I'm not ever going to burn a transfer, but going into Game Week 33, in theory, given how the doubles are currently falling, this is how the team would line up. And obviously, in Game Week 32 and 31, or 32 and 33, I would be making transfers to cater towards double Game Week 33. Now, if we quickly look at the teams who are doubling in Game Week 33, that also have great fixtures, Arsenal are top of the tree, and they'll also be going for the league. So, the likelihood is that I will be looking at getting Bukayo Saka in this team sooner rather than later. How I would do that? Maybe it means selling Bruno, unfortunately. Again, it sounds crazy right now because how good he is, but if I wanted to keep Mo Salah for, let's just say, this run, which I actually think is not the worst, and considering the double game week as a differential captain or a potential triple captaincy option, I think people are forgetting if there's some sort of form coming up into these games, whether it's Saka or Salah, I think people would be more than capable of doing it. Now, again, if, buts and maybes, and right now sounds stupidly ridiculous, but like Global says, captaining Salah this week currently at 0.2 effective ownership of his record returning versus City on penalties and likely to get 90 minutes. I mean, it is not possible, or it is not that it's not possible in any given game week that Salah can do it because he plays for Liverpool. And I think that needs to be said. So, realistically, we want to be selling Mane, Krupi, Senesi going into this game week. Dubravka, it's fair to say he's going to stay. Iliman Ndiaye, a few transfers definitely here to make. Again, I think I could go from anywhere to doubling up on the Arsenal guys or just tripling up on Liverpool defence. So let's say, and let's pencil in some moves for this game week. The potential team that we could get to in game week 33. It would be Virgil in. It would be somehow trying to get to Bukayo Saka. Whether that's true selling Bruno, I don't think it's likely that it's going to be true Bruno, but let's just say it is. Bench boosting or triple captain in this game week. Let's just say it is the bench boost for now because that will be the most popular week to do it. And then it leaves me with 3 other moves to move out of Iliman Ndiaye. And I would probably go to target, just looking at the fixtures, maybe a Crystal Palace asset like a Sar. And again, also moving towards the City option. So I would love it, Antoine Semenyo. I think a lot of people will have Antoine Semenyo, especially if I'm not going to have Haaland in that game week. I would also like a Yari. I think he could be an outside shout for a budget option who's doubling in this game week who can get DEFCON. Fixtures are not great, but you don't mind it for a budget enabler. And then also you could you could then move on one of the options on the bench towards a double game week player to cater for the double. Now, for me, that is probably going to be, a City defender, probably a Gahey. Now, lads, if I'm looking at that team for a team who's covering game week 31 and 33, again, it is all if, buts, and maybes. So that is very nice. And I know it goes down the Liverpool route, who, like Simi says, is completely off it. But I don't know. It's just the extra fixtures for me that makes it appealing to me. But anyway, that's enough waffle for me. Let's get back to answering some of your questions. And yes, I still am on the Morgan Rogers captaincy. Let's get to answering some of your questions. Where are we then? So there's the team currently. Let me do a little scroll on the timeline to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'll leave you guys put in some questions and then I can go to answer them. I'm going to take a quick swig of my water. Aryan, sorry. Should I start Anderson for Thiago and Evan Nilsson? Sorry, Aryan. I haven't answered that question you sent in the super chat. Let me answer that properly. I I think I would play Anderson again. The 4 points guaranteed over. It's hard. It's hard not to play Thiago and Evan Nilsson, who are both on penalties. I'd be completely honest, but I would play Anderson given the form he's on and the points that he's been returning in recent weeks. And it's a good fixture, of course, versus Leeds. Best 2-week punt under 7.4 million. I'm thinking Morgan Gibbs White. If you're asking for a 2-week punt, Davis. I assume you're asking for a midfielder then if you're suggesting midfielder. I am actually going to say probably Antoine Semenyo. I know it doesn't seem like a punt, but realistically he is. And if it's not Semenyo, then I'm going to go for Dominic Solanke. I think Solanke can do well in these next two. Sounds crazy, but he's a man in form, regardless of what you say. Let's go back to the timeline. Liverpool 1, City 3. Let's do that then. Let's do a poll. How do you see... Actually, I won't do a poll. City versus Liverpool. Or Liverpool versus City, sorry. Score predictions, please. I'm going to go with a City win. I know it's at Anfield, but I'm going to go 2-1 City. One all says Sam. Okay, if you are predicting the score, try put in the goal scores as well. I want to see how you guys exactly see this game going. I'm going to go with Semenyo scoring 1, and I'm going to go with Mark Gahey getting the other. 3-2 Liverpool, 1-all says Shatara, 2-all says Albert, Maximilian says 3-1, Chicken says 2-0 City. Start Krupi or Verts, you gotta start the on form Verts. Players who will score, I'll go Gakpo and Sharky. Nice one, Sam. Gakpo, been a while since I've heard his name. Hey Choi, Bruno or João Pedro for captain. Again, I cannot encourage you to captain João Pedro over Bruno. I mean, Bruno is just, fantastic. And even for me to go with Rodgers over him, it is quite hard. Haaland and Sharky. City, Haaland hat-trick. Imagine Haaland hat-trick. I can't tell if these are Arsenal fans in my chat telling me that Liverpool are going to win. City, Haaland hat-trick says T7 or 7 Tris. Gakpo scores a few against City. He does. He's a big game player. Well, Joe, who would you start between Minoz, Maguire, Senesi, or Igor Jesus? You got to start Minoz, man. Got to start Minoz. Minoz is just one of those who's unbenchable week to week. Sharky. Sam is high on Sharky. Best non-Arsenal Saka replacements. Mbeumo is probably the best. Pains me to say it versus Tottenham. I can see him scoring versus Tottenham, by the way. I know I went on my rant earlier saying about Mbeumo and Thomas Frank, but still. Is it crazy to captain Mbeumo? No, it's not crazy, Kevin. You know, like, again, just pulling up Rob T's graphics, or Solio's graphics. Like, they have Brian Mbeumo quite high, and for good reason. I mean, he's 5th on this list for expected goals this weekend. You know, he's always going to be higher than a midfielder like Bruno for attacking threat. Or for goal threat, sorry. And then also you have projected points. He's also 5th on this list. So, you know, it is definitely not unreasonable by any means. Absolutely not. Sorry, that's an old graphic. Rob T actually updated that. Again, I always find these graphics amusing to look at. Like, Bruno has gone up 0.7 points, I believe. We tried to pressure you to get Rice over Saka, and we were right. FPL Chicken says, no chance we pressure you to close your eyes and put the captain on Bruno. Chicken, I hate that, because I didn't even get a chance. You know, it's not like Saka played the game and blanked and, you know, got outscored by Rice in the double. My whole point was that Saka was and had the capability to outscore Rice in that double game week, especially as a captaincy option. And I've been shut down early, unfortunately. In hindsight, yes, Rice has only gone and done it, but that's not how it works. Start Tarkovsky or Thiago. I would be starting. That's a tough one. I probably would be starting Tarkovsky. Hello, Chai. Would you captain Rice or Trossard? Rice or Trossard? I would captain probably Rice. Again, I expect Trossard to start, but he loves the early sub. But Tottenham don't concede to strikers. Rice, yeah. If Tottenham are the only team to be shutting down Erling Haaland, you better know that the next time he plays Erling Haaland, he's going to score. Please display your team. There's my team. You only pick Saka because you love his Nando sauce. Rice is clear. Yeah, exactly, Tiny Fungus. Please captain Rodgers. Don't switch sides like Anakin. I'm going to captain Rodgers. I mean, the more I talk about it, I'm not going to be persuaded. And it's funny because all week people have been thinking that I'm only doing it for the show, but I'm going to captain Rodgers. I don't fancy the early kickoff, and I think there's something in this game for Tottenham, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Who knows? Maybe they both might knock it out the park. You know what? It'd be crazy if I back my match here, right? And then we see Morgan Rogers penalty. And all this time is finally coming true. That's the least likely event ever, but again, that's what we play, if buts and maybes in FPL. And it's about backing your mash. That's the thing and about my playstyle. And again, it's probably why you guys, I appeal to some of you, but I genuinely believe in what I say. Like, if I think that Rodgers is a good option in my mind this game week, for whatever reason, I will usually double down and go with what I think. That is the crazy shout. Good luck. Thank you, Tiny Fungus. Rodgers or Thiago, play one. I would play Rodgers. Should I do Gahey to Minoz if I have one free transfer? No, I don't mind holding on to Gahey, I'll be completely honest. At the same time, Minoz is a great option going forward, but I think I would just hold on to him this week. And to be honest, my preference, depends what you're doing, Kevin, long term, but my preference would be to hold on to Tarkovsky. Or sell Tarkovsky, sorry. But I think, whatever about captaincy, do you agree that my team is well set up for this game week? I mean, I think it is. I think it's phenomenal. Minoz or Anderson for Fulham? Gotta be Anderson for Fulham. Cheers, big ears. Semenyo for Rice. This game week, yeah, sure, why not? Rodgers, captain. You are extremely ballsy. I've nothing to lose. Again, I just want to make this clear. I understand how good Bruno is. No one needs to tell me how good he is. I have captained him. First off, I've owned him when people didn't own him. That's the first thing. Let's go back to game week 1. Quickly. For some reason, it's not letting me go. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. If we go back to my game week 1 team score, guys. Let's not forget who is Bruno Fernandes in terms of FPL. One of his biggest fans. Blanked in game week 1. Held on to him. Blanked in game week 2. After 2 blanks in a row, I captained him versus Burnley. I don't think that's anything too crazy. I mean, I got a haul versus Burnley. Okay, fair play, Chai. Nothing crazy at all. Free hit him out in game week 4. Had him in game week 5 and captained him versus Chelsea for a 20-point haul. I'm no stranger to Bruno Fernandes and what he's capable of. But what it comes down to is the game state. Again, I say it time and time again. He is going to be very highly projected this game week across all models. Spurs are in a bad place. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bruno do something. For me, what it comes down to is there's just such a high chance, because in my opinion, anyone who's engaged is going to default on Bruno. Let's be real. Nobody wants to captain Erling Haaland at Anfield. But Morgan Rogers, who's nailed 90 minutes and has a shout of penalties, and Villa are on decent form still, even after losing that game, and Rogers is always largely involved. I'm happy to go with Rogers, and I am going to play my luck. Like, the probability are stacked against me. I know that. I understand that. But you have to look at the reward in the case of Bruno blanking. And suddenly in that 3 o'clock kickoff, Bournemouth away, like I have Rodgers. Again, lads, I'm not scared to lose out on some points on Bruno. And I think that's okay. I think you also need to be okay with not capping the best player in your opinion if you have some of your own reasons to go against it, I suppose. Anyway, I'm absolutely waffling now. Captain Bruno Fernandes, I'm not going to try to persuade anyone. I've no problem with spicing things up. A Spurs fan, Captain Bruno is so over for Spurs. Yeah, me not Captain Bruno. Bruno Hall is coming through now versus Tottenham, doubling down versus me. Just don't like how Rodgers is playing at the moment. What hedged you, or are you looking for luck? A bit of both, I suppose. Like I feel like Rodgers might necessarily be returning, but again his numbers aren't exactly the worst, and he's always going to get 90 minutes for Emery. We have a half an hour, guys, until the deadline. I hope I'm answering a lot of your questions and you can see where I'm coming from. Again, looking forward to the game week. Good to see that we have Friday night football, even if it is not the most exciting fixture in the league. But probably will watch it nonetheless because we're absolute FPL nerds. Not that I have anyone playing, but again, Elliot Anderson is just someone who's so good in my opinion that he's a good watch and good one to monitor for FPL, I guess. Who would your captain, says Simi, in Mbeumo or Bowen? I do think my preference would probably be Bowen. Again, in away fixtures, he's probably better for DEFCON. So many routes to points now. I say so many penalties. Fake FPL pickle in chat. Let me quickly ban you real quick. Sorry, guys. Brobby to Tati. Imagine that was the real Rice and Rice actually did have COVID. That'd be hilarious. I say hilarious, not because Rice had COVID, but if it was a real pickle. Love Red Anderson, the honest worker. Yeah, genuinely. Such a hard worker. Let me do another little scroll on the timeline, ladies and gents. We'll get back to some of your questions. A lot of people are locked in. You know what I'm going to do before I continue answering your questions? I'm going to lock in my team just to prove it to you guys. That the armband is going to stay on Morgan Rodgers. Again, we're going to spice it up this game week. And I'm going to back Tottenham to get some sort of result versus United. It's okay if you don't like it. Chicken saying no way pickle. That is pretty good to me. Where are we? We're going balls to the walls this game week, guys. 449,000. Again, we are looking for that bit of luck. We're going to put a world emoji. Let me put the right side of the globe. We are playing in Europe. Lads, I don't know if I'm tweaking or my eyesight is poor, but which of these three globe emojis is Europe? I think it's this one. It is. It must be that one. Anyway, Rodgers, captain. Again, I'm going bold. Spicing things up. Not going different for different sake, but definitely have my biases. I think that's fair to say. Definitely. Biases. Think it'll be a tough game. Be a close game for the early kickoff. And happy to take on some. How would I even say that? Because people won't even look at that as risk. People will think of it as pure stupidity, and that's fine by me. Again, I actually couldn't give a toss what the next person thinks of me captaining Morgan Rodgers. But my point is, how do I word this? Think it'll be close game for the early kickoff and happy to take on some major risk, as stupid as it may seem. Bournemouth game has goals. IMO. Still think Rodgers has a outside shout for pens. There you go. Okay, there's me locking in for you guys, because again, you guys still don't believe that the the armband is staying on Rodgers. There you go. That's me locked in. Spicing things up. Let me make sure I'm spelling things right. Alright, there's that posted. I never think, though, anyone getting 90 minutes playing for a top 4 team in the league is ever a bad captaincy option. Like, never. And sure, Bruno is obviously the standout, but this is a week where really only Bruno is a standout. So if we consider the fact that everyone's going to go for him, all I need is a bit of luck for him to blank. Now, it also takes Morgan Rodgers doing something, don't get me wrong, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let me pop out chat again, guys. Take on the crowd. Apostrophe Chai. Sorry, Kit. I could barely read that. That tells you where my English is at, Kit. There's people absolutely raging at my language. Sorry. I don't know why, but my chat is bugging out. Do bear with me for a second and I'll get back to all your questions. I'm going to pop that out real quick. There you go. Sorry, guys. And back to my team. Let's scroll through the timeline and see what people are saying about my team. I have not wildcarded. Bench boost. Who to bench? Timber. Anderson. I have not wildcarded. Bench boost. Who to bench? Timber. Anderson. Chow. Sharky. Anderson. Ekitike. Dubravka. So Dubravka bench. Chow bench. Sharky bench. And I don't know who else to bench, but a lot of great options in there. 95. Evan Nilsson or Shalaba? I have Sanchez. I would play Evan Nilsson in that case. Who's the best Reece James replacement? It depends. If you don't have triple Arsenal, Timber or Gabriel. If you're looking for something a bit different, I guess Trevor Shalaba is definitely not a bad option. Considering you went with James in the first place, you are back in Chelsea. Gonna go with Rodgers. Let's go against the C. Zion, again, I just want to make this clear. I'm not trying to incentivize anyone to do it. I just, when you got that feeling, I always go with the balls, and they usually don't let me down more often than not. I'll be honest. I mean, I would definitely be considered a very jammy manager, and again, you have to make your own jam. It's not going to make itself. Gravenberch out for who, says Luigi. Sarr or Wilson or Anderson, 6.6 million in the bank. I would go with Sarr, personally. Again, it really depends on your plan for Game Week 31, but Sarr is definitely the best option out of those. João Pedro captain, again, user. I don't mind it. Again, I just don't absolutely love it. It is bold. And he's not really an out-and-out goal scorer, Pedro. Which is, never the greatest. By the way, if you are enjoying the stream, ladies and gentlemen, do hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you again to all you guys who've sent in super chats, particularly Refical, who just absolutely smashed it with a €20 super chat, which is still looming on my screen because it's been that big of a super chat. So thank you again for all of you for supporting the channel. And again, do support me more in likes and subscribes. Krupi or João Pedro. If I had João Pedro, I'd be starting João Pedro. Minoz, Rodgers and Hill, who to start, says Mad. I would be starting Rodgers. Any goalkeeper recommendations? It's a hard one. I genuinely still think Ray is not a bad option with the double game week if you want to triple up on the defence. Sell Keane or O'Reilly for Timber in game week 26. I would sell Keane for Timber. I would be tempted to hold on to O'Reilly, I think. It's a tough one because they're both going to lose their place realistically. Choi is Captain Rodgers and I'm benching him for Joe Anderson, imagine. Joe Anderson sounds like the most Wolves player ever. For Joachim Anderson. Fair. At least gives a voice captain to Bruno. Okay, maybe you're right. I'm being disrespectful not putting on Bruno. And people are probably going to lose their mind that I'm absolutely going away from Bruno. Let me see what people on Twitter are saying. They're probably racially abusing me. Let me see. Oh my god. Let's refresh the old timeline. Thank you for subscribing. I didn't see who subscribed. Did I even post that? I did, yeah. Sorry, didn't load. Liam is in here. Best of luck, Chai. He's currently... Oh, Liam got a Liam FPL account. He got an alt account. Very nice team, that Liam. Shame with the Liverpool playing City, but who knows? It could be a game with goals. Yes, this is what I love to see, says Steady. Just about to buy Rodgers, and this is what I want to see. Good luck, mate. Well, that's bold. Bournemouth are usually better defensively at home, so I was wondering why you are going for it. No Kroopy at home. No Kroopy at home. 70 minutes Kroopy, though. Hard not to feel the look. Davis, I was waiting for you to comment, you little shit. But yeah, lads. There we go. Next game week. Would you take a hit for Gui Tsamane? If you have no 11, I would, but I wouldn't elsewhere, I don't think. Is Captain Verse crazy? I mean, in a world where I'm Captain Morgan Rogers, I don't think Captain Verse could ever be crazy. Hello, Choi. Would you start Thiago or Iliman Ndiaye? I would definitely start Iliman Ndiaye. You captain Rogers. Wow, I'll captain Gabby then. Nice one, Nimarala. Dubravka Pickford. I'm thinking Dubravka. Again, that's another one that I think is a flip of a coin. I think Fulham do score. I also see Burnley conceding, so very little in that. If it were me, I probably would be playing Dubravka for the save points. Saying that, Pickford can of course get save points, but Liam says, appreciate it, Chai. I have had the FPL account since the start of the 24-25 season, but interesting to see that you're linking it from a different account. You've probably been doing that anyway, but that's the first time I've noticed. -4 for Timber to replace one of Anderson/Senesi. I would be -4 for Timber this game week for Anderson or Senesi. Peter, I won't be doing that. I'll be doing it next game week. Chow to Timber, absolutely. What's your view on starting Calafiori over Senesi? I've held since before his injury, so feels time to bring him out of hibernation. Yeah, I don't mind him if you already own him. Again, I wouldn't be selling Senesi by any means, though. What do you think about Palmer captain? I actually quite like it. Amar. Actually, I'm interested to hear why you captain Rodgers. So like I said, Charles, it is the game say in how I see this. Like, I take this Spurs game on how I see the game going. I genuinely think early kickoff, it will be a close game. Spurs are going to set up in a way, it's not a case like Arsenal or City. We're not going to be coming on to United crazily. Spurs haven't been horrific throughout all minutes, I would say, in the last 4. I mean, if I look at Tottenham on FootMob, let's just say, again, these are minor things and they probably don't play into the bigger reasoning. But if we just look at, if we go to tomorrow, Spurs, early kickoff, Spurs are, how can I view, overview, fixtures, 2-0, my point is, right, I don't think we've been horrific. In those games versus Dortmund and Frankfurt, I was actually quite happy. Burnley, we were shocking. First half versus City, we were shocking. There is currently a narrative about Spurs in the league, which I think is correct. I mean, you're not wrong at all, but we seem to be always up for these United games, which is its own narrative in itself. So I think it'll be a tight game. And then, again, go for Rodgers, who is a player who's nailed on 90 minutes every single week. He is going to Bournemouth, who have conceded a lot of goals in recent weeks, who are a bit better at home, but even at that, conceding a lot of goals. Slight chance of penalties and on free kicks as well. So I prefer him over Rodgers, Enzo, who I think can see some sort of reduced minutes. Iliman Ndiaye, who doesn't seem to be having the most goal threat. So that's my reasoning. Would you bench Semenyo for Anderson? That's a tough question. I actually think that's a really close decision as well. Surely there's someone else you can be benching for Semenyo rather than Anderson. Like, I'd bench a Kroopy for a Semenyo. I'm planning on doing Paqueta to Rice next game week, as I did Saka to Mbeumo yesterday. But I now have any doubts about keeping Rice after double. Is it worth, or should I do someone cheaper? I would still bring in Rice, and then sort him after the double game week. Again, he's just so strong for the double game week. Hi, Chai. Cucurella versus Chalobah. On my wildcard, I spoke about Cucurella. The right decision was made by me by going Chalobah, but then of course Cucurella scored. So I would still go Cucurella. I think it is a good differential. I did say that we were going to see Cucurella come up in and around the box in this system for Liam Rowe Senior in some of these easier games. So don't mind it at all. By the way, guys, just quick skin update. I don't know if you guys remember, but last month I would have spoke about going on Aquitaine. First month on Aquitaine, I'm starting to see little clear-ups. So great signs, and hopefully, not that it matters, but not seeing a big spotty face is encouraging you guys to stay around. Choi, I have the exact money to do Saka to Rice and Keane to Gabriel. Okay, I would do that tonight, Faisal. The other option is Saka to Rice and Keane to Saliba. I would just do the Gabriel move, to be honest. Are you planning on keeping Rodgers in weeks to come? I think so, Shatter. When do you plan on bench boosting? Game week 33, probably, Thomas. I'm really not sure yet, though. Shall I captain Mbeumo or Palmer? I would captain Palmer in that case. You're a cutie, says JM. Thank you. Liam says he linked it to his main account. Oh, I see. I get you, Liam. Hi, mate. Sarr or Enzo Fernandez? I mean, at this stage, you probably just go Sarr because of penalties, and Palmer's going to get minutes to take pen share off Enzo. I would go Sarr. JM says, my girlfriend's sister was an Aquitaine and it really worked for her. Yeah, that's the general consensus that I'm hearing. Anyone who's ever taken Aquitaine, it's really worked for her. So I'm hoping I can be one of those also. And it is working well for me so far. What do you think of Ortega in for Keller out? Ortega's just a small bit expensive for me, in my opinion, Charles. Mbeumo or Verts on wildcard? I already have Bruno. I would be tempted to go with Verts. Again, he does have that potential double in game week 33. Aquitaine. Side effects may include crazy differential picks. I don't know. We had crazy differential picks anyway, chicken. So I'm not sure how much it makes a difference. I've put the armband on João Pedro over Bruno. Crazy work, T-Man. I hope you're not using me as differential or as inspiration. Let me do another little scroll. Kai's. I'm not that brave. How do you see the game? Sorry, I can't English. Choi ate my dog. Nice bit of racism there from Barry. Thank you, Barry. Shout out to the racism. Good to see that it's not left. You know what's crazy? And this is a good time to talk about it. It's been a while since I've had a bit of racism, and to be honest, it does not affect me at all. So I do not want to hear your sorrows going, so sorry, Chai. It's okay, guys. Like, someone saying racism to me might as well be the equivalent of saying it to a white fella. Like, it has absolutely no effect on me. Again, just for a bit of context, I would have grown up with a white family anyway. I've always had both sides, so I've always been proud to be Asian. But I also have that white side of me. I grew up around all ethnicities, white and black, and very little Asian. So yes, you cannot really say anything at all. Again, my brother would have well conditioned me for any racism growing up. So to be honest, it is quite funny because it is the equivalent of me going to a white fella saying the equivalent. So fair play, Barry. I hope you've got the reaction you wanted, but you'll never ever take the smile off my face, my friend. So shout out, Barry. And you do not need to ban Barry. I mean, go for it, Barry, by all means. Anyway, before I got sidetracked, 12 minutes until the end of the stream, let me quickly answer Baker. How do you genuinely see this game going? Genuinely. How do you see this game going, Baker? I'm hopeful. Aren't you? Six and Stones. Screw that guy. Shout out from Dunny Gold says, Chris, nice captain. Personally going with Palmer. Nice one, Chris. Love that. Again, if I had Palmer, I think I'd be going there. Great outlook, Chai. Jonathan says, yeah, I might go Sarr. Fixtures are great and he's genuinely class player. Yeah. Sarr's been one of those who I owned this season. Unfortunately, didn't get anything out of. You know, now with the penalties, though, it absolutely changes everything. I mean, when you add a player who's going to play up top now, out of position, like Sarr, great fixtures coming up. I think he's such a good option. So, love that. Would you start Ndiaye or Krupi? I would start Iliman Ndiaye. Again, 90 minutes opportunity at DEFCON and also penalties. Bench Semenyo, DCL, Enzo or Wilson. Very hard to bench any of those. I'm not going to lie to you. My preference would be Wilson. Shout out to you from my fellow Asian American, says Gino. Thank you, Gino. Food says, maybe you saw my name many times. I just want to say thank you for your videos and the detailed explanations for everything you are doing for FPL and your advice to us. Very nice words, Food, and I have seen your name around. So thank you for supporting the channel, my boy. Sorry if you answered already, but my PC died. How is your PC dying? Is that shit not plugged in? May I ask you if I would start Senesi or Raul Jimenez? I would start Raul Jimenez. Again, home fixture on penalties, getting 90 minutes. I would chase the upside. Best of luck, JM. Thank you for joining us. Dan is in here as well. Thank you, Dan, for the kind words also. Donal is saying... but what is Donal saying? Donal is saying 6k in the world have never been so high. Phenomenal work, Donal. I can tell you're not getting your advice from me. I'm not having as good of a season. Sakate, Mbuemo or Semenyo? I would go Mbuemo. Szoboszlai to Trossard or Madueke? I think I would preference towards Madueke. Thank you, Chicken, for sorting out chat. I want Leeds or Forest player just to make tonight's game interesting. I'm at 50k rank. That's when you know it's bad and FPL is a bit dry. You know, we need to see more goals. I would be going with Elliot Anderson. I actually think, regardless of whatever's happening tonight, he's still an amazing option. Chicken, I wonder that as well because, you know, you actually have to go out your way to change accounts to do that and make an account. Like, it's crazy work. I mean, surely you have other things to be doing at 6:20 on a Friday night. I guess not, but motivation. Ndiaye and Watkins for Bowen and Mbuemo or Roll. I would love to hold Ndiaye if I were you, Larry. Mbuemo is very appetizing though, I'm not going to lie to you. If your defense is shallow by Gabriel Anderson, would you bring in Timber? I think I would, Gino. Again, Timber is just so good. I feel like he's a ticking time bomb, in my opinion. Palmer or Bruno Cap? Have a feeling Bruno brace. If you have a feeling Bruno brace, well, I do not need to explain anything more to you. 8 minutes until the end of the stream, guys. I hope you've got all your questions answered. Let's do a little refresh pull on the timeline. See if we can get anything. Again, not like we're looking for any additional information, but good to see what people are thinking on the timeline. Bro, that is exactly who I was thinking. Again, I can't remember what I just said there, Will, but... Fran brings in CP. Amazing, Fran. Best of luck, Fran. Love that. This is why I rate Fran so highly. Again, he's another one, and I've always considered him. If I, you know, could never play FPL again, he'd be the one managing my team. He provides excitement, good management, and an analytic view of FPL. Like, I mean, what else could you ask for? Keep Wilson or sell and have 1.5 million in the bank. Nothing wrong with keeping Wilson this game week. My thing on Wilson would be, you know, if there's no reason to sell him this game week, then don't. You good, Chai? We need your guidance. This game is cooked. What guidance do you need from me, Downtown? Let me know. Are you going against Bruno because you support Spurs, by the way? So I've answered this a few times. Like, I'm sure there is some part of me that is going against Bruno because I support Spurs. Again, but I've looked at the game, and this is week to week is what all that matters. How do I see this game going versus Spurs? And do I see a crazy Bruno haul? Not necessarily. I think it'd be a very tight game for the early kickoff. Secondly, do I think there's a chance that Rodgers gets 90 minutes penalties and there's goals in this Villa game? Absolutely I do. Everyone is going to captain Bruno this game week, and I have no doubt about it. So I just think it is a good chance to pick up some differential points as well. So to answer your question, no, but also, I mean, kind of. Like, I mean, if there were other options this game week other than Bruno, like if Erling Haaland was playing against, let's just say, Villa at home, way less people would be considering Bruno, I think. Again, Spacine says Palmer or Rodgers captain. I would go Palmer in that case. Like, if I had Palmer, I'd captain him. I'm starting Croupier instead of Haaland, Spacine says. Bold. The Dutch brother says, good luck, Choi. Thank you, the Dutch brother, and thank you for tuning in on a Friday evening. Again, I'm really enjoying the stream. It is that slight bit more energy sapping because I have to keep you guys entertained, but I do love doing it nonetheless after work. Fair point. I'm surprised you didn't ditch Haaland on wildcard. Chris, for me, what it came down to is, he still has great fixtures coming up, and he's still going to get the minutes, in my opinion. I mean, he's not a bad hold with Fulham, Newcastle, Leeds, and Forest coming up. Bench Thiago or DCL? I'd be benching Thiago. Again, I'd want DCL this game over Thiago. Would you captain Mbeumo over Rodgers? If I owned Mbeumo, well, I decided to go Rodgers over Mbeumo. Again, not that I had enough money to get Mbeumo, but I would just go Bruno in that case. Why have you benched Senesi, Chai? There's no one in my team that I would prefer to play over, or to play Senesi over. And I think that's fair to say. Chicken ate my dog. Chicken ate my dog. Now Chicken is getting it. Hold that chicken, yeah? Do you use FPL Live? I do use FPL Live quite a bit. Captain Mbeumo over Bruno Fernandes. Again, I don't love it. I would just go Fernandes in that case. Semenyo or Elliot Anderson. This game week, I actually would go Elliot Anderson. Although I think Elliot Anderson, Semenyo is a hard bench in this game week. Focal has done Saka to Rice, a very popular move. Oh, I never added my transfer to my balls. I just realised. I never said I'd done Saka to Rice. That is completely my bad. Am I tweaking? And why can I not get to my account? Can I update that? Edit post, I can. Saka to Rice. How did I forget to do that? It was like my main thing. Okay, let me update that. Captain Bowen against Burnley. I actually don't mind it. I spoke about it. It's a decent option for sure. Is Pedro a good captaincy? I keep saying he's decent. Douglas Luiz is also a great option, especially if you think he's going to take penalties. Torsten Haaland cap, I don't love that. I'll be honest. Again, a player off form, a player taking minutes off him, very little confidence at Anfield. If you want my team ID, is 38 or 35,840. Again, my history is not the greatest. I've 7 years experience, but a lot of that time would have been at the age of 14, 15, 16 and 17. So make it that as you will. There's been a few inactive seasons, but will Spurs keep a clean sheet? I don't think there's any chance, but I don't see us getting rolled over. 3 minutes until the deadline, lads. Get your questions in. Isn't Enzo a good captain against Wolves? The question is fishing. Is there a chance that he sees reduced minutes and he will not take penalties when Palmer is on the pitch? So it's one of those things where, yeah, if he was, a similar situation where he's going to be starting like last game week and getting 90 minutes in pens, but again, with Palmer, you just can't be sure. Start Malik Chow or Rodon? I would start Malik Chow. Enzo's not the worst captain though. Liam says, thoughts on Bournemouth at home versus away defensive record with Rodgers captain. Yeah, I think that is a thing to consider, but again, I still deem Villa a very, very good attack. Like, at home, conceding 2 to Spurs, 2 to Liverpool, who are, very good attacks, 3 to Arsenal, 1 to Burnley. I don't think they've been particularly great at home anyway. So I'm happy to take a punt. And again, I think this is a game of goals. I could easily see a 2-2, 3-2 in this game. Palmer captain, or Bruno, or Burrow H. Who's Burrow H? Bone is on for captain. Nice one, Chat Sports. Don't captain someone because of me, lads. Again, I'm not trying to convince anyone to do it. I'm just going with my gut. Esteve or Mukiele or O'Reilly, start one. My preference would probably be going for Mukiele, which is certain. Actually, no, I'd go Esteve. I'd just go Esteve. DCL or Mane? DCL all day. VVD, Virgil van Dijk or Senesi? I think you gotta go Senesi. Bench one, DCL, Wilson, Semenyo. Bench Wilson. Bruno or Palmer? I would go with Palmer if I had Palmer. Because why not? It's also just a bit of fun. Great option. So we're going to round out the stream there, guys. Again, very enjoyable 2 hours. Thank you all for supporting us. Again, before you leave, do hit the like button and subscribe. I hope you are enjoying the content on the channel. We are getting into the later rounds of the season, and next game week is a big one, of course. Double game week 26. And my team is phenomenally set up for it, so I am really excited for it. So I hope you've enjoyed the stream, lads. Again, the stream has just hit the 30-minute half an hour mark at 6:30, so I'm going to change the timer to 0. Again, it's just not updated on your screen, but I hope you've enjoyed another amazing stream, lads. I'm actually going to round it up there because it's been an enjoyable 2 hours after work, but enough is enough. Time to cool off, make some food, and we'll call it there, guys. Again, hope you enjoy the football. Let's hope Morgan Rogers can give us a bit of luck and Bruno Fernandes doesn't hurt us too bad. But as usual, lads, I will see you in the next.